Hi, I'm Matt Fletcher, and this is a short video for homeowners and home inspectors on painting aluminum and asbestos siding. So I have some experience at this, and I train home inspectors now, so I thought I'd make a video for you homeowners and home inspectors that want to paint some siding. So that's me there. I'm actually using a paint sprayer there to wash the house down. I've got that hooked up to a bucket of soapy water. I'm washing down the house there. So when you're washing a house, getting ready to paint it, you need to pay attention to the overhang areas wherever the weather doesn't hit it. So the weather doesn't hit up under here or under this porch area here. And those areas accumulate a lot of dirt. There would be a lot of dirt on those surfaces. Yeah, but where the weather hits it, right where I'm spraying there, not as much. You need to wash everything, but you won't get as much dirt accumulating here. But up under the overhang and things, you need to wash that very well. One of the things you might want to use is like one of those car washing brushes that you hook up to a water hose. So water comes out the end, it's got a brush on there, and you could hit in these little grooves and things and get that good. Spray some soap on there with something like a paint sprayer, or you could put it on there with a sponge, or I've seen people put soap on with a broom, like a straw broom, and just kind of paint the soap on there, let it sit for a few minutes, and then hit it again with that car brush, and then rinse it off. That'll do a good job. Use a good strong soap like TSP, trisodium phosphate. They sell it everywhere at Home Depot and Lowe's and paint stores. So, all right, just so you know who you're dealing with here, this is me on the left. That's my dad on the right, and that's one of his workers in the middle. So my dad was a painting contractor for 35 years, and I painted with him from about middle school in the summers till I graduated college, and I became a high school construction teacher. So I have a pretty diverse background in construction and fixing up houses and painting and things. So um, there I am again, back when my hair was dark, doing some prep work on the inside. So I just wanted to give you my credentials so I have some street cred here before we get started. So let's get to it. Prep the surface. Like I said, wash the surface with a good strong soap like TSP and rinse it. Power washers are okay, but be careful not to damage the surface. Power washers can eat up, maybe not aluminum, but asbestos siding is pretty fibrous. It's almost like a very hard wood, and you could damage the siding if you hold a power washer right up to it. And use the big. They have different tips. Use the tip where it sprays out in a big fan pattern. You don't want to use the the bullet tip that sprays in one little small area. So after you wash it, you want to allow it to dry, and then prime with a good latex primer. Spray your roller, spray it on a roller and brush, like I said. You may want to add a product to like emulsibond for better adhesion to very chalky surfaces after you wash it. You're going to wash off as much of the chalk as you reasonably can. We're going to talk about all this more in this video, so don't worry if you don't understand. I got pictures and everything. So, and then after you're done, you want to top coat it with a good quality latex paint. Latex primer too, if I didn't mention latex. You always use latex on aluminum and asbestos siding. Don't paint in the sun to avoid premature drying and lap marks. So if you got a sunny side of your house, don't paint it during when the sun's on it. If you possibly can, do it in the shade when the sun is off of that side of the house. Is a very, very good idea. Okay, don't paint in the sun, especially if it's hot in the summer. All right, so let's take a look at some pictures here. This is the house we're going to paint today. So this is a house we owned, and we kind of serial flippers. We'll live in a house a few years and then fix it up, buy a broken down house, fix it up, live there, and then sell it, move, and do it again. So we've been doing that since I was I think I bought my first house when I was 23 or 24, and now I'm 63. So I've been doing it a while. Notice the garage back there. I tore that garage down. You'll see other pictures of it, but anyway, let's talk about the paint. That's my wife and our dogs there in the picture. So this is an asbestos-sided house, and it's probably wood clapboards underneath it. And then they put the siding on probably in the 50s or 60s. This was a popular siding, and it does have asbestos in it. And like I said, I'm a home inspector, and I have tested this siding for people. You send a sample in to a lab, and they tell you if it's got asbestos or not. So anything that's got 1% asbestos or more is considered dangerous. It can give you lung cancer. And this siding's like 15, 20% asbestos. Okay. So if you're going to fix it or drill a hole in or anything, wear a mask that's rated for asbestos. And I believe N95 masks are rated for asbestos, but don't quote me on that. N95 will block a virus, so I'm pretty sure it'll block an asbestos fiber. So keep that in mind when you're working with this stuff. It can be very dangerous. There's a close-up of the siding. You can see they face nail it. They call that face nailing in construction. A couple nails missing there, so you want to replace the nails. A good galvanized nail or maybe even stainless steel. Looks like a lot of nails are missing. I did this 20 years ago, so this is all bringing back memories for me. But that's what it looks like, and it's very hard, and it's very good siding too. If someone comes along and tells you, "Oh, you got to get rid of it, it's got asbestos in it," I doubt that a lot. I wouldn't call the city and give them your address and tell them because they might come running over there. But I mean that happens. Okay, I'm not kidding. That happens. So don't call the city and ask them and give them your address. Do it anonymously with somebody else's phone if you call the city. But this is good siding. It's much like um, cement siding that they have today, that Hardy board siding. Now Hardy makes several different kinds of siding, but they make a cement board, and it's a lot like this asbestos siding. Just it's minus the asbestos. They probably put fiberglass in it or something now instead of the asbestos fibers to hold it together. It's good siding. I've owned several houses with asbestos siding, and where I live, you can paint over it and just leave it on there. And this is the raw stuff. This had never been painted. We owned this house around 2000, and that siding was probably put on there in the 50s. And look how good it looks, you know. So anyway, that's what it looks like. Here's some aluminum siding that had been painted. So it comes with a factory finish. And it's good stuff. It's good. It's got a good finish on it. It's good siding. But after, 20, 30, 40 years in the sun, the finish wears out. It doesn't peel, but it chalks, and that's what you see on my hands. And what I mentioned in that table that I showed you at the beginning. It chalks off like that. So if you do that test on your siding, if you got aluminum siding or asbestos siding that's been painted, so if it's chalky like that, you need to really wash it well and get as much of that chalk off as you reasonably can. You don't have to wash the aluminum down to the bare aluminum, but a good washing. And I would hit, if it's like that, I would hit it with a sponge. Every square inch of it, I would hit it with a good wash sponge and with some hot TSP water, and then rinse it. Again, TSP is trisodium phosphate. Here's an example where someone did not wash their siding good. So this is asbestos siding. So this stuff looked like that picture I showed you where my house, where it was the raw siding, and then someone painted it. And you can see it's still stuck pretty good on there, right? But it was probably very chalky, right? The white. And then someone went over it with this gray, and they didn't prep the surface. They probably didn't wash it. They didn't do what I'm about to tell you, and the paint's peeling off. Okay? So this is why you want to prep it, because it will peel if you don't prep it right. But if you prep it, you probably won't get any peeling, at least not for, 20 or 30 years. But again, the surface will wear out. It chalks off after exposed to the sun for decades. So this is what we're trying to avoid here. This is the house I inspected in Detroit. So there I am again washing, just to repeat myself. I decided to go with yellow on this one. I was going back and forth with like a taupe color yellow, but I was like, let's do yellow. I want to try yellow this time. So it looks pretty bright there. Those samples look pretty bright there. But that's against that It's against that dark background, so we'll see that it doesn't look so bright once we get the whole house painted. See the garage back there? That's my new garage that's going up. So um, we were building that garage, and then I think this was like early fall, and I said, well, we better get the house painted because we're going to sell it. Because you can put siding on. We put vinyl siding on that garage, but you can't paint in the winter, not in Michigan. So we were trying to get the painting done. So that's why I was jumping around doing that. So there's my washing setup. So I think I rented that. I used to have a paint sprayer, and honestly, it was a piece of crap. And I think I paid, it was a long, long time ago, so it was probably $300 or $400 30 years ago. You know, I bought a cheap one, and I used it a lot, but I rented this one at Home Depot. It was probably, a few $1,000 sprayer, way, way better. So if you're going to spray a house or anything and you're not in the business, you're not going to do contracting, I would rent a good sprayer. Don't buy a cheap one off the shelf. Go rent a good one. But anyway, I put soap in the bucket and sprayed the house with it, and then hit it with a brush and rinsed it off and all that like I talked about. So that's how you want to wash it. Oh, they got cut off. The dorm was up here. When I loaded this picture in here, it doesn't show you what's going to cut off. But there's a dorm right here. So this is the same house, and I couldn't remember if I sprayed it or brushed and rolled it when I started this, but you can see the overspray on the roof there. And we put the reason I didn't cover the roof up when we sprayed it was because I knew we were going to put a new roof on. So, and we did a layover on this one. You can put two layers of shingles on houses here in Michigan. It meets code. So we just went right over this roof, and I did a little patch job here. I didn't want to talk about the patch job. I want to talk about the overspray on the roof. So if you got a dorm on the house and you're gonna do a new roof afterward, you don't have to cover the roof up. But if you're gonna spray and you got a roof that you're not gonna replace, then you need to cover the roof up. Okay, that's the point of that picture. So here's the emulsibond that I talked about in the in that list I showed you. So this is a product made by Flood. And if you have a chalky surface, remember you do that test, and if it chalks off in your hand, like it showed in that picture, you want to wash it good and then use a good quality primer and put emulsibond in it, and this helps it stick to those chalky surfaces. Okay, so you don't peel off. This is a primer that I became familiar with after I got out of the painting business. I went to probably Home Depot and was talking to one of the associates there, and some of their associates don't know what they're talking about. If they're a young kid that they just hired, they put them through like a paint training program, and that's not really adequate. It isn't. Like I said, I used to be a construction teacher, so teaching one thing in a classroom is one thing, and then actually doing it out in the field for years is another thing. So if you want to get advice from someone at one of these big box stores like Home Depot or Lowe's, talk to someone who's older and been in the business and not just some kid that they hired. So, but they turned me onto this primer, whoever I spoke to there, and this is a really good primer. This is what I always try to use now. This one's gray, but I always used white. I didn't even know they sold gray until I downloaded this picture. So, and this covers very well too. So when paint covers good, it's got more titanium dust in it. That's what makes paint cover, the titanium dust that's in it. So that's a good product to use if you want a good suggestion on a good primer. There's the subject house again. Not sure why that picture's there. Oh, that's before and after. You can back up the video if you want. It's before and after. So there's the after paint job. See, we got the siding on the garage now too. But I think it came out nice. I don't think it was too bright. I was a little worried that it might be too bright. I never did a yellow house before, so we went with yellow. And you can see we removed the screen on the front porch. I don't think I talked about that in the first pictures, but this was a screened-in porch, and I removed it because I thought it was ugly. And I added this trim up here, and then we did some new trim around the front door. So any carpentry work you want to do, I would do that before I paint, so you can paint everything all at once and not have to go back and touch up anything. And notice I didn't paint the block on the bottom. It had never been painted. It was bare block still. And you don't need to paint block to protect it. It's fine the way it is. And I don't care what you do to it, it will peel. It will peel because it's so low to the ground here, and the snow here in Michigan is up against it in the winter, and when it rains, it splashes and hits the ground, comes up, and it would peel. So I was like, let's just leave it bare like that. So came out good though, right? All right, there's another shot. Oh, here's around the door. Notice how the door's real plain. It had a storm door on here too. Notice how plain that is. And after, there it is. So that's plastic trim I bought at Home Depot. It's like foam or whatever. Not hollow plastic. It's like foam. It's dense. Uh, Came out nice. I stripped that door and redid it too. I got the BBB thing on the door because I used to belong to the BBB for my home inspection business. I don't belong to them anymore. It's just not worth it. They charge too much. So that came out good. Again, do any trim work that you do, do that before you paint. It's part of your prep. There's a long shot, same thing. The back of the house, there's me and the dog. Notice the door here. I garbage picked that awning. I've always driven a pickup truck, and I was driving down the street one day. I was like, oh, there's an awning that might fit over my back door. So there it is. Um, Again, so anything you're going to do, before you paint, like put up an awning. I had to fix some of these tiles here too before we painted. There I am fixing it. Yeah, so when I tore my old garage down, there was a box of these asbestos tiles in there. Oh, there's the taupe paint that I tried on the back, and I went with yellow. But see, this one's cracked, and then there's some cracked ones up here. So I fixed all those, and I put that awning up. There it is after. Notice how it looks level on the top? We're a little bit of an angle, it's hard to tell, but it's level on the top. But this side is lower than this side. And I messed around and messed around with that thing, and I decided that it was made that way, and I couldn't get it, perfectly straight. So I said, let's go with level on the top, and we'll just have it uneven on the bottom. So that's why it looks like that. I didn't hang it crooked. That freaking thing was made like that. But it was free, right? And I painted it with the house, right? And I put some little white trim around the bottom band there that used to be black. Came out good. Awnings are a good idea to protect the door, and even the door jamb at the bottom keeps the weather from hitting it and rotting. A little side by side shot. Side by side shot. That was a nice house. It had a good floor plan. We redid that driveway too. That's a subject for another video. So just to review, like we did at the beginning, make sure you wash the surface with a good strong soap like TSP and rinse it. Power washers are okay, but be careful. Allow it to dry. Prime with a good quality latex primer. You can spray it. Be careful with that sprayer. Don't get overspray on your neighbor's car because it will. The wind will carry it. I promise you. It'll carry it farther than you think it will. Be very careful if you do that. Or you can do a roller and brush. Sprayers are much faster. And if you do spray it, most people will either hit it with a roller or a brush afterward. They call it back rolling. Since you're working on the outside, you might want to tape with masking tape a brush in the end of a rolling stick and hit it with the brush so you can reach farther. You need to work with somebody if you're going to do that. That's a two-man job. Okay. Um, If you got a chalky surface, use something like Emulsibond for better adhesion to chalky surfaces. And we've been using Emulsibond since my dad was in the painting business. So that product's been around for at least 40 years that I know of. So when something's been in construction that long, you know it works. Okay, it does work. Then after you prime it, good quality latex paint. The better the paint is, the higher the price of the paint, the better it covers. Okay, so if you buy a cheap paint, you make, oh, this one's only 10 bucks a gallon, this one's 20 bucks a gallon. It's because it won't cover as well, and you might end up putting even more coats on it because it doesn't cover well. So it pays to buy good paint. Okay, don't paint in the sun. Premature drying, you'll get lap marks in your paint because it'll start to dry and it'll look like crap. So don't paint in the sun, especially if it's hot in the summer. Like I said, I train home inspectors. My school is called Global Inspector Certification Association, and we do it online. It's a lot like this slideshow, lots of videos and things. So if you're interested in being a home inspector, check out my school. Just Google Matt Fletcher Home Inspector Training, and you'll find us. And thanks for watching. Good luck with your project.